What's something that's mundane in your country, but foreigners think is incredible? Oh man, one of the absolute cutest things I have ever seen was a work friend of mine at the time, who was visiting from Australia. He came into work that day totally beaming because he had seen a squirrel on his way there. I was very confused until he told me they don't have squirrels in Australia. He went on and on about how cute they were, and I told him I had a surprise for him when we went to lunch. I walked him a few blocks up the road to a local college campus, where the squirrels are so fearless they will literally come and take food out of your hands. They will even sit on your shoulders so long as you sit still and feed them. This man was absolutely geeked when I called over a group of squirrels with some crackers from my lunch. I thought his head was going to explode when I told him to stand still and set a cracker on his shoulder, which a squirrel happily climbed up him to get. He legit froze and started tearing up. I was worried he was afraid or something, and I asked him if he was okay. This man looks at me with the biggest smile on his face and says in the most adorable, quietest little voice as to not scare the squirrel on his shoulder away, "This is the single best day of my life." Squirrels, of all things, now. I asked a colleague from India what he found most interesting since moving to the US, and he said the orderly traffic. He did a mind-blown motion and everything. The reverse was true for me when I first visited Beijing. I could not understand why there were not wrecks everywhere. That said, the speed of traffic in the US is, on average, much faster. The wildlife. I don't think I have met a tourist who didn't have see a koala on their to-do list, but I probably would not consider them mundane, because I get super excited and really happy when I see a koala and I live here. Mundane would probably be kangaroos. I lose my mind when I see a wombat. They are the actual best. I am an American living in Australia. I was so excited when a bus I was on stopped for an echidna to cross the road. Also, the birds here are so different. When I went to Japan, all the rain gutters had aggressive crabs living in them. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. As a foreigner in SE Asia, I am always very excited to see monitor lizards, much to the amusement of locals. In the UK, I kinda love how excited tourists get about Greggs. Old buildings. 50% of the people in my city live in buildings built before 1800. My mill laughed at me when I called the buildings in Edinburgh old. Those are not even 100 years old. My state isn't even 100 years old. I experienced this in Bilbao. I kept staring wide-eyed at all the old buildings and said to my husband, they are, just using them like regular buildings. Free public electric BBQs in Australia. At many beaches and parks, there are free BBQs. They are nearly always clean and work very well. Everyone uses them and cleans them after they finish cooking. I married into a South African family. They are amused by how excited I, an American, get about guava and passion fruit flavored everything when we visit them, and the cheap, amazing wines, confirming that they get very excited about squirrels and free refills when they visit here. Opossums. In America they are big, light-colored, and pink-nosed, with a hairless skinny tail. The Indian workers saw one and ran over with their arms wide exclaiming, "I just saw a mouse and it was this big." Clean drinking water. We have no idea. Dated a girl in Morocco. She lost her shit on me when I attempted to quench my thirst with water from the tap. She was afraid you would lose your shit on her. I am in Southwest Ontario. I don't think you can travel 20 minutes without falling into a river or lake you could drink out of. Some people in the world walk 3 hours for a gallon of water and are lucky to get it. Our enormous parking lots. Americans don't even blink at a 3-acre parking lot. The Europeans are astonished every time. We had a foreign exchange student from Germany while I was in high school. At the end of the day there was a huge joint parking lot between the big middle school and huge high school of a big consolidated district, where all the buses parked while waiting for us to get on. She found the bus and was freaking out, begging the bus driver if she could run up the hill to take a picture of the ocean of yellow school buses. She said it was the craziest thing she had seen. She didn't know the yellow school buses were real, and she was not expecting you to see more than 100 of them at once. Paying for public restrooms. I went to France and the public restrooms were paid to enter, and they self-sanitized, cleaned after each person. Then I went to Rome and the public restrooms were holes in the floor. I have never seen a hole in the ground toilet in Rome. Are you sure you were not just squatting at the wrong spot? Temples in Taiwan. Every back road has one. There is probably 6 or 8 within a 5 minutes walk from building. An American friend visited, and he was mind blown that one of my windows looks over some back alley temple. A Coca-Cola delivery truck was in the parking lot where I was working. There was a couple from the UK that was very excited about it. They took selfies next to the truck, and the driver let them sit in the driver's seat for more pictures. Seemed like a real treat for them. Squirrels. Ha, fun story. We live in Las Vegas where my gal grew up and there is effectively no squirrels. First time I took her to Indianapolis, my hometown, I took her to the zoo, which is pretty sweet. We are checking out zebras and elephants and tigers and all the cool exotic animals, and every time I turn around she is taking pictures of the damn squirrels in trees. Kromzerg, when we have a baby, we get a in-home caretaker for the first week. They know all about taking care of a newborn, so they teach you how to feed your baby bottle or breast, change diapers, bathe baby, etc. They also make sure the baby is healthy, gaining enough weight, etc. But they also take care of the rest of the family, so the parents and siblings can enjoy their time. They make food for you, clean the house, check on the stitches of the mother, etc. It is lovely. Plus, if there is something off, like an unhealthy environment, addiction, abuse, postpartum, etc., it's seen and dealt with. The Netherlands, by the way. Bike paths everywhere. Hummingbirds. I live in Palm Springs, California, and was visiting the Merton Botanical Gardens when I overheard someone with a British accent say, "Oh my god, is that a hummingbird?" I was not aware they don't have hummingbirds where they live. They were just astounded and amazed watching it flit around, stop and hover, then move on. Milk in bags. Though, to be fair, I have heard it's incredible to other Canadians too, depending where they live. Kangaroos and koalas. My husband is from Brazil and saw capybaras and golden tamarins regularly. Apparently tamarins like chips, and it was so funny to him that I grew up seeing them as exotic and cool. On the flip side, he has taken pictures of things like Starbucks to send to his friends back in Brazil. All the really old churches in Europe. I am from the US, so buildings that are 400+ years old are really hard to come by. Over in the UK and France they are just about a dime a dozen. Tumbleweeds. I live in Texas. Had a friend from Sweden lose his shit when he saw one blowing across a field. Singapore, our crosswalk buttons have a pad that elderly people can tap their bus card on to get more crossing time. I have seen so many amazing tech inventions that the whole world needs TikToks and they always feature them. I have only seen an elderly person use it once, still neat though. Used to work retail in Metro Detroit, and we got lots of Canadians that came over to shop. They were absolutely fascinated by $1 bills. Castles everywhere. Wales had the most castles per square mile of any country. Just on the Gower Peninsula, which is about 70 square miles, there are 6 castles or castle ruins. They are just part of the landscape here. Some are in city centers, overlooking marshes or beaches or up on top of hillsides. I find them both endlessly fascinating and simultaneously just part of the backdrop. I have lived in Florida my entire life, so alligators are just a thing that you see in the water and occasionally crossing the road. Well, today my wife and I went to the Alligator Farm Zoo in St. Augustine. It's accredited. I checked, just to see what it's like. And boy were there a lot of international travelers from Europe having their minds blown. You all really do act like a 7-year-old seeing a real-life dinosaur for the first time. Lol. This is really for Americans from different states. In Ohio we have drive-thrus, where you can buy a 6-pack of beer without getting out of the car. My friend from Pennsylvania finds this utterly amazing. Maple syrup. It is like liquid candy. Maple syrup, not what most people nowadays put on pancakes, waffles, and sausages, is one of those. Now I know that I can never go back experiences. Grocery superstores in America were quite the impressive thing to our exchange students from Europe back in the day. Not sure if it's still as impressive. They were amazed we had so many choices of types of food and brands of the same foods. Our grocery stores may have been partly responsible for the collapse of the Soviet Union. Maybe a little off topic as this was over 20 years ago, around the time of the collapse of the Soviet Union, but a girl came from Russia to work at a summer camp where I was working. Some of the other counselors took her to the local 7-Eleven to pick up a few things. She was amazed at the amount of food they had there. I imagine that a proper grocery store just blew her mind. Rumor has it that she defected at the end of the summer. Took a Chinese girlfriend back to Australia years ago, and we could not drive anywhere because we were constantly stopping to take photos of sheep. She was also fascinated that myself and all my friends had brothers and sisters. She would never met anyone who had a sibling. Snow. I had a Mexican roommate in Chicago who had never been snowed on before. She put her arms out, spun around, and squealed. It's just like the movies. Thanks for watching. Share your story in the comment.